My name is Darren Halloway, and I'm a structural engineer who spent 15 years building bridges while my wife Mira systematically burned ours down. That Tuesday morning in October, I discovered just how thoroughly she'd succeeded. I was standing at our kitchen counter, coffee growing cold in my hands, watching Mira text someone with the kind of focused intensity she used to reserve for me. Her fingers flew across the screen, punctuated by little smiles that made my stomach turn. Not because I was jealous, that ship had sailed months ago, but because I recognized those smiles. They were the same ones she'd given me during our courtship, back when she thought I had potential. "Who's got you so entertained this early?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She didn't even look up. "Just work stuff. You wouldn't understand." That phrase had become her favorite dismissal lately. I wouldn't understand her job in human resources. I wouldn't understand her need for girl time that stretched past midnight. I wouldn't understand why she needed a separate checking account for personal expenses. But I understood more than she realized, especially when she left her phone face up on the granite countertop, the same granite I'd paid for with overtime hours. And I caught a glimpse of the contact name, Liam Morrison, her supervisor at Hartwell Industries, married father of 2, drives a silver Mercedes and thinks khakis count as business casual. I'd met him at exactly 3 company parties, where he'd given me the kind of handshake that screamed, "I'm humoring you." "Actually," I said, settling into the chair across from her, "I think I understand perfectly." Something in my tone made her glance up. For just a moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. Then she recovered, sliding the phone closer to herself. "Don't be paranoid, Darren. It's not attractive." "Neither is lying to your husband, but here we are." The words hung between us like smoke. Mira's jaw tightened, and I could practically see her cycling through responses: denial, deflection, or attack. The holy trinity of her conflict resolution style. She chose attack. "You know what your problem is?" she said, setting down her phone with deliberate precision. "You've gotten comfortable, boring. When was the last time you surprised me? When did you last plan something spontaneous? When did you last want me to?" That stopped her for exactly 3 seconds. Then she was back on script. "I need someone who challenges me, someone who makes me feel alive. You just exist, like furniture." There it was, the truth she'd been dancing around for months, delivered with the casual cruelty that made Mira so effective in her job. She specialized in letting people down gently, in making termination sound like opportunity, but this wasn't a performance review. "So, I'm replaceable," I said. "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Her phone buzzed. Without thinking, she glanced at it, and I saw her face soften. That little smile returned, the one that used to be mine. When she started typing a response, I made my decision. "Go ahead," I said. "Tell Liam you'll be free next week. I'm filing for divorce." Her fingers froze over the keyboard. The smile vanished. She looked at me like I'd just announced I was joining the circus. "Wait, what?" I pulled out my laptop and opened it on the kitchen table. The browser was already loaded with the county clerk's online portal, where I'd been preparing for this moment longer than she knew. The divorce petition was complete except for my digital signature. "You heard me. I'm done being furniture." "Darren, don't be ridiculous. We can work this out. Maybe counseling." "With what? Your honesty? Your respect? Your fidelity?" I clicked through the pages, entering my information with the same methodical precision I used for load calculations. "I think we're past counseling." She stood up so quickly her chair scraped against the tile. "You can't just decide this unilaterally. Marriage is a partnership." "Funny. When did you start believing that?" I attached the separation agreement to the petition, the same document she'd signed 3 months ago when her accountant friend suggested we restructure our assets for tax optimization. Mira had been so eager to reduce her liability that she'd barely read the fine print. The fine print that gave me sole ownership of our joint assets in the event of marital dissolution. Her accountant friend hadn't mentioned that part, probably because he was too busy trying to get into her good graces to notice the legal landmine she was signing. "This is insane," she said, but her voice had lost its edge. She was staring at the laptop screen, watching me navigate through forms with obvious familiarity. "You've been planning this. I've been preparing for it. There's a difference. I uploaded our financial documents, property records, and the notarized separation agreement. The system processed everything in real time, generating a case number and filing fee. I paid with my credit card, the one she didn't have access to. Darren, please, let's talk about this like adults. We are talking. I'm telling you that our marriage is over, and you're telling me about your exciting text conversation with your boss. Very adult." Her phone buzzed again, This time she ignored it, but I could see the effort it took. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "An apology? I can apologize." "I want you to be honest. Just once. Tell me how long you've been seeing him." She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. The truth was right there, balanced on the tip of her tongue, but honesty wasn't in her nature anymore. "Nothing's happened," she said finally. "We're just friends." I submitted the petition. The system generated a confirmation email and case number. In the subject line, Halloway v. Halloway, case Jiao 2023 DR 4471. "There," I said, turning the laptop toward her. "It's filed. You have 30 days to respond." She stared at the screen like it might change if she looked hard enough. Then reality began to sink in. "You can't do this. I won't let you." "Actually, I can, and I just did." I closed the laptop and stood up. My coffee was stone cold, but I drank it anyway. The bitterness seemed appropriate. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To work. Unlike some people, I still have a job that requires my attention." "This isn't over, Darren. I have rights. I'll fight this." I paused at the kitchen doorway and looked back at her. She was still standing by the table, phone in one hand, the other clenched into a fist. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You're absolutely right," I said. "You do have rights. You have the right to remain silent when the process server shows up at your office. You have the right to an attorney when Hartwell's compliance department starts asking questions about your relationship with Liam, and you have the right to explain to your sister Holly why you're suddenly homeless." Her face went pale. "You wouldn't." "I just did." I left her standing in our kitchen, my kitchen, according to the separation agreement, and walked out to my truck. Through the window, I could see her frantically typing on her phone, probably texting Liam, looking for comfort and reassurance. She wouldn't find either. The petition I'd filed included a notification clause that would automatically inform Hartwell Industries of any legal proceedings involving their employees. Standard corporate policy, designed to protect them from liability. Liam would get his own notification by close of business today. As I drove to work, my phone started ringing. Mira's ringtone. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. By the time I reached my office, she'd called 17 times. I didn't answer any of them. Paul Morrison, not related to Liam, despite the shared surname, was waiting in my office when I arrived. He'd been my best friend since college, my best man at the wedding, and the only person who'd consistently called Mira out on her behavior over the years. He was also my business partner in our small engineering firm, which meant he had a key and no sense of boundaries. "You look like a man who just burned down his life," he said, feet propped up on my desk, coffee steaming in his hands. "Close. I just filed for divorce." He nearly choked on his drink. "Finally. What was the last straw?" "She called me replaceable while texting her boss." "I decided to test that theory," Paul grinned. "And? Turns out I'm not as replaceable as she thought, but she might be." I filled him in on the morning's events while I checked my emails. 17 missed calls from Mira, 12 text messages ranging from angry to pleading, and one voicemail that was just sobbing. But nothing from Hartwell Industries yet. "The separation agreement was genius," Paul said. "I can't believe she signed that without reading it." She was too busy thinking about tax savings to consider the implications. Her accountant friend probably thought he was doing her a favor. "Speaking of favors, you might want to prepare for incoming fire. Holly's calling." My phone was ringing again, but this time it wasn't Mira's number. It was her sister Holly, the self-appointed family mediator who'd never met a conflict she couldn't make worse. "Darren? What the hell is going on?" Mira just called me crying about divorce papers. Holly Martinez had married into money and never let anyone forget it. She lived in a McMansion in the suburbs, drove a white Range Rover, and treated family gatherings like board meetings where she was the CEO. She'd never liked me, but she'd tolerated me as long as I kept Mira happy. "Hello, Holly. I filed for divorce this morning. I'm sure Mira gave you her version of events." "Her version?" "Darren, she's devastated. She says you just blindsided her with this." "Did she mention why I filed?" There was a pause. "She said you've been having problems, but nothing that couldn't be worked out. Marriage takes effort, Darren. You can't just quit when things get difficult." I put the phone on speaker so Paul could hear. He was making exaggerated gagging motions. "Holly, did Mira tell you about Liam?" Another pause, longer this time. "Who's Liam?" "Her supervisor, the one she's been having an affair with." "That's ridiculous. Mira would never." "Check her phone records. Better yet, ask her directly. See how quickly she changes the subject. Even if that were true, which I doubt, people make mistakes. Marriage is about forgiveness. Marriage is about trust, and respect, and honesty. Mira's been fresh out of all three for months. You're being vindictive. This isn't the Darren I know. The Darren you know was a doormat. I'm upgrading. Holly's voice sharpened. Listen to me very carefully. You're going to withdraw this petition, apologize to my sister, and figure out how to fix your marriage. Because if you don't, I will make your life very difficult. Paul was shaking his head, but I was smiling. Holly had just given me exactly what I needed. I'm recording this call, Holly. Would you like to repeat that threat for the record? The line went quiet. Holly wasn't stupid, just arrogant. She'd realized her mistake. I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying that family should stick together. You're absolutely right. Family should stick together. That's why I'm sending you something. I opened my laptop and pulled up the email I'd prepared weeks ago, the one containing the separation agreement Mira had signed, complete with her notarized signature and the recording of her dictating the terms to me while I typed them up. Check your email, I said. You'll find the separation agreement your sister signed 3 months ago. She was very specific about the terms. I have it on audio if you'd like to hear her voice. I hit send and waited. Paul was grinning like a kid at Christmas. This is... Holly's voice trailed off as she read. She signed this? With a notary present. Very official, very legal. But this gives you everything. The house, the cars, the savings accounts. That's what she wanted. Tax optimization, remember? She was very concerned about protecting her assets from liability. This can't be enforceable. Feel free to hire an attorney and find out. I'm sure Mira would appreciate the legal bills. There was a long silence. I could practically hear Holly's mental calculator running the numbers. The house was worth $400,000. The savings accounts held another $60,000. Mira's car was leased, but the title to my truck was clear. You planned this, Holly said finally. I prepared for it. Your sister made it necessary. She's my family, Darren. I can't just abandon her. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to stay out of my business. Another pause. Then Holly's voice changed, becoming carefully neutral. What do you want from this? Money? The house? I want my wife to stop lying to me. Since that's apparently impossible, I want a divorce. There has to be something, some way to work this out. There was. It was called honesty. Your sister chose a different path. Darren, please, think about what you're doing. Mira made a mistake, but she loves you. No, Holly. Mira loves the idea of me. The security, the stability, the reliable husband who pays the bills while she plays house with her boss. She doesn't love me. She probably never did. The line was quiet for a long moment. When Holly spoke again, her voice was small. What happens now? Now Mira gets served with papers. Hartwell Industries gets notified about the legal proceedings involving their employees, and your sister learns what it's like to face consequences for her actions. You're destroying her life. I'm ending mine. There's a difference. I hung up and turned to Paul, who was applauding slowly. That was beautiful, he said. Absolutely beautiful. Holly's never backed down from anything in her life. She just realized that defending Mira could cost her money. Holly's many things, but she's not stupid with finances. My phone buzzed with a text from Holly. I can't get involved in this. I'm sorry. Then another text, this one from Mira. Holly won't help me. What did you say to her? I didn't respond to either message. Instead, I opened my case management software and started reviewing the day's projects. I had 3 bridge inspections scheduled, 2 structural assessments, and a consultation with the city planning department. Normal work, normal problems, normal solutions. It felt good to focus on something I could actually fix. So what's next? Paul asked. Next, I wait for Hartwell Industries to call Mira into a meeting. Should happen sometime this afternoon. And then? Then we find out how much Liam really cares about her when his own job is on the line. My computer chimed with a new email. The sender was someone named Marissa Morrison, and the subject line read, "We need to talk." Liam's wife had found my contact information. This was about to get very interesting. Marissa Morrison turned out to be nothing like I'd expected. When she suggested we meet at a coffee shop downtown, I'd pictured another Holly, polished, entitled, ready to blame me for her husband's choices. Instead, I found a tired-looking woman in scrubs who ordered black coffee and got straight to the point. "Your wife is sleeping with my husband," she said, settling into the booth across from me. "I assume that's why you filed for divorce." "Among other reasons. How did you find out?" "Liam's been working late 3 nights a week for the past 2 months. Always the same nights. Always with Mira from HR. When I called his office last Tuesday, they said he'd left at 5:30. Marissa had the kind of practical directness I'd forgotten existed. She was a nurse at the county hospital, worked 12-hour shifts, and raised 2 kids while her husband played executive. She didn't have time for games. "I'm sorry," I said. "This can't be easy." "It's not. But I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because Liam got a call from his boss an hour ago. Something about a legal notification involving employee conduct. He's panicking." I sipped my coffee and waited. Marissa was building to something. "He thinks you're going to sue the company. He's already talking about hiring an attorney, claiming harassment, making this your fault somehow." "And you're warning me because?" "Because Liam's a coward who's about to throw your wife under the bus to save his own career. And because I want him to face consequences for once in his life." She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of text messages. "Liam to Mira. We need to cool things off for a while. This divorce thing has corporate spooked." Mira's response. "What about us? What about what you promised?" Liam. "I never promised anything. We were just having fun." "He sent that 20 minutes ago," Marissa said. "Your wife called him 6 times after that. He didn't answer." I studied the messages, feeling an unexpected pang of sympathy for Mira. She'd blown up her marriage for a man who was already abandoning her at the first sign of trouble. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I want your help destroying him." The bluntness of it caught me off guard. Marissa noticed my expression and smiled grimly. "I've been married to Liam for 8 years. This isn't his first affair, just his most careless one. Usually he picks women from outside the company, women with more to lose than he does. Your wife was convenient because she works in HR. She could cover for him." "Could?" Past tense. As of this morning, Mira's been suspended pending investigation. Liam's in meetings all afternoon explaining his relationship with a subordinate employee. My phone buzzed with another call from Mira. I declined it. "How do you know all this?" "I have friends at Hartwell, the kind of friends who've watched Liam climb the ladder by stepping on other people. They're not exactly heartbroken to see him squirm." Marissa leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Here's what I know that you don't. Liam's been using company resources for personal business, charging personal dinners to his corporate card, using the conference room for private meetings, even booking hotel rooms for client entertainment that never involved clients. That's fraud. That's termination with cause. No severance, no references, and possible criminal charges if the company decides to pursue it." I was starting to understand why Marissa had sought me out. She wasn't just angry about the affair. She was strategically planning her husband's downfall. "What do you need from me?" "Documentation. Proof of the affair that goes beyond text messages. Something that establishes a pattern of behavior and timeline." I thought about the evidence I'd been collecting. Photos of Liam's car in our driveway when I was supposedly at work. Credit card records showing dinners at restaurants Mira claimed to visit with girlfriends. Hotel receipts I'd found in her purse. "I might have some things." "Good, because I have something you need too." She pulled out a manila folder and slid it across the table. Inside were printed emails, expense reports, and what looked like hotel receipts. "Liam's been sloppy with his digital trail. He uses the same password for everything, including his personal email that syncs to our home computer. I've been documenting his activities for 3 months." The evidence was damning. Dinner receipts for 2 at expensive restaurants on nights when Liam claimed to be in client meetings, hotel bookings in the city when he was supposed to be traveling for business, and emails to Mira that were explicit enough to end both their careers. "This is comprehensive," I said. "I'm a nurse. I believe in thorough documentation." We spent the next hour comparing notes and building a timeline. The affair had started 4 months ago at a company retreat in the mountains. Liam had pursued Mira aggressively, promising her promotions and special treatment. Mira had been flattered by the attention from a senior executive. "She really thought he was going to leave you for her," Marissa said, scrolling through more text messages. "He told her he was unhappy in his marriage, that you didn't appreciate her, that she deserved better." Classic lines. The classics work. Until they don't. My phone rang again. This time it was Paul. "You need to get back to the office," he said. "Mira's here, and she's making a scene." "What kind of scene?" "The kind where she's crying in the parking lot and threatening to call the police if you don't talk to her. The kind where our other clients are starting to stare." I looked at Marissa, who was watching me with interest. "I have to go deal with my wife," I said. "Ex-wife," she corrected. "And I'm coming with you." "That's not necessary." "Actually, it is. Mira needs to understand that her safety net is gone, that Liam isn't coming to rescue her, that she's completely alone in this." There was something cold in Marissa's voice that made me reconsider my initial impression. She wasn't just angry about the affair. She was enjoying the revenge. "This isn't about justice for you, is it?" I said. "This is about making them suffer." "Can it be both?" She had a point. I gathered up the evidence and stood to leave. "One more thing," Marissa said. "Liam's supposed to pick up our kids from school today. He won't be able to because he'll be in meetings until 6. When he doesn't show up, I'm calling his boss to report him as unreliable with family commitments." "That seems petty." "That seems appropriate. He should have thought about family commitments before he started sleeping with your wife." We walked out of the coffee shop together, unlikely allies in a war neither of us had wanted to fight. But as I drove back to my office, I realized I was looking forward to the confrontation ahead. Mira was about to learn that being replaceable worked both ways. Mira's red Camry was parked sideways across 2 spaces in front of our office building, hazard lights blinking like a distress signal. Through the windshield, I could see her on the phone, gesturing wildly with her free hand. She'd been crying, her makeup was smeared, and her hair looked like she'd been running her fingers through it. Paul met me at the entrance, looking amused and slightly concerned. "She's been here for 20 minutes, he said. "First she demanded to see you, then she tried to get me to call you, then she started crying and saying you'd ruined her life." "Anyone else see this?" "The Hendersons from the accounting firm upstairs. They asked if everything was okay. I told them it was a domestic situation and suggested they use the back entrance." Marissa pulled up behind Mira's car, effectively blocking her in. I hadn't asked her to do that, but I appreciated the tactical thinking. "Who's that?" Paul asked. "Liam's wife. She's here to help deliver some news." Mira spotted me through the glass doors and immediately got out of her car. She was wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for her birthday last year, the one she said made her feel confident. Now it just looked desperate. "Darren," she called, hurrying toward us. "Thank God. We need to talk. This whole thing has gotten out of hand." I pushed open the door and stepped outside. Marissa followed, hanging back but clearly visible. "Hello, Mira." "Don't hello Mira me. Do you have any idea what you've done? I got suspended from work today." "Suspended? They're investigating my relationship with Liam like we're criminals." "Are you criminals?" "We're adults who developed feelings for each other. That's not a crime." "Adultery isn't a crime," I agreed. "But fraud might be. Depends on how many company resources Liam used to wine and dine you." Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" I gestured to Marissa, who stepped forward with a smile that could freeze water. "Mira, I'd like you to meet Marissa Morrison, Liam's wife." The color drained completely from Mira's face. She looked between Marissa and me like she was trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. "I don't understand," she said. "I'm here to let you know that your boyfriend threw you under the bus about 3 hours ago," Marissa said pleasantly. He told his boss that you pursued him, that he tried to keep things professional, and that he's concerned about your unstable behavior following your divorce filing." Mira's mouth opened and closed without sound. "He also suggested that you might try to claim harassment as retaliation for your suspension," Marissa continued. "He's already hired an attorney to protect himself from any false accusations you might make." "That's not... He wouldn't..." "He would. He did. And he's probably in another meeting right now explaining how you manipulated him into an inappropriate relationship." Mira turned to me, eyes wide with panic. "Darren, you have to help me. This is insane. Liam loves me. He told me he was going to leave Marissa. We were going to be together." "When did he tell you that?" I asked. 2 weeks ago. We were at dinner, and he said he was just waiting for the right time. He said he wanted to do it properly." Marissa laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 2 weeks ago, Liam and I renewed our mortgage for another 30 years. We also opened a joint investment account and booked a vacation to Hawaii for Christmas. Does that sound like a man planning to leave his wife?" Mira's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the concrete steps, staring at nothing. "He said he loved me," she whispered. "He said he loved me too," Marissa replied. "This morning, right before he left for work. Some men are very good at saying what people want to hear." My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and felt a grim satisfaction. "Speaking of Liam," I said, "he just sent you a message." Mira fumbled for her phone with shaking hands. She read the text, and I watched her face crumble. "What does it say?" Marissa asked. Mira's voice was barely audible. "He says I need to stop contacting him. He says any further communication will be considered harassment and reported to the police." "Efficient," Marissa said. "He's covering all his bases." "This can't be happening," Mira said. "This morning everything was fine. We were happy. We were planning a future together." "This morning you called your husband replaceable while texting another man," I said. "You made your choice." She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "I made a mistake. People make mistakes, Darren." That doesn't mean our marriage has to end. One mistake I might have forgiven, but this wasn't one mistake. This was 4 months of lying, cheating, and treating me like an inconvenience in my own home. I'll end it with Liam. I'll quit my job. We can start over somewhere else. You can't end something that's already over, and you can't quit a job you've been suspended from. Marissa stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. Mira, I need you to understand something. Liam isn't going to help you. He's not going to defend you. He's not going to risk his career for someone he was just having fun with. You're on your own now. But he said he lied. To you, to me, to everyone. That's what Liam does. He takes what he wants and discards what he doesn't need. Mira buried her face in her hands and sobbed. For a moment, I felt a flicker of the compassion that had once made me love her. Then I remembered the kitchen counter conversation, the months of dismissive comments, the way she'd made me feel like a stranger in my own life. What do you want from me, Mira? She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. I want you to withdraw the divorce petition. I want us to go to counseling. I want to fix this. With what? Your honesty, your commitment, your respect? With whatever it takes. I'll do whatever you want. I want you to have done this conversation 4 months ago, before you started sleeping with your boss. I want you to have remembered that you had a husband before you decided you needed something more exciting. I want you to have treated our marriage like it mattered. It did matter. It does matter. No, Mira, it mattered to me. You treated it like a safety net while you went looking for something better. She stood up slowly, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. So that's it? 15 years of marriage, and you're just going to throw it away? I'm not throwing it away. You already did that. I'm just making it official. Marissa cleared her throat softly. Mira, you should also know that Hartwell Industries is conducting a full audit of Liam's expense reports. If they find evidence of personal use of company funds, they'll likely terminate him and pursue criminal charges. As his accomplice in those activities, you could face charges too. I never used company money for anything. You benefited from it. The dinners, the hotel rooms, the gifts he bought you with his corporate card. That makes you an accessory. Mira looked between us like a trapped animal. You're both lying. You're trying to scare me. We're trying to prepare you, I said. Because when this gets ugly, and it will get ugly, you're going to be facing it alone. She walked back to her car without another word. Marissa moved her vehicle so Mira could leave, and we watched the red Camry disappear down the street. Think she'll try to contact Liam again? Paul asked. Probably, Marissa said, but it won't matter. He's already made his choice. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Holly's number. This should be interesting, I said, answering the call. Darren? Mira just called me. She's hysterical. What did you do to her? I introduced her to reality. How did that work out? 3 weeks later, I was reviewing structural plans in my office when Paul knocked on my door. You're going to want to see this, he said, holding up his phone. It's all over social media. The video was shaky, clearly shot on someone's phone, but the audio was crystal clear. Mira was standing in the parking lot of Hartwell Industries, screaming at Liam while he tried to get into his Mercedes. She was accusing him of ruining her life, of lying to her, of using her and throwing her away. Liam's responses were calm and cold. You're making a scene, Mira. I'm calling security. Let me guess, I said. This went viral. 12,000 views in 2 hours. Someone tagged Hartwell's corporate account. The comments are brutal. I watched the video twice, feeling a mixture of pity and satisfaction. Mira had lost everything, her job, her marriage, her dignity, chasing after a man who'd never intended to leave his wife. There's more, Paul said. Marissa called. Liam was fired yesterday. Corporate found evidence of expense fraud going back 2 years. They're pressing charges. And Mira? Terminated for cause. No severance, no references. Marissa says she's probably looking at criminal charges too. My phone buzzed with a text from Holly. Mira's moving in with us temporarily. She has nowhere else to go. Another text followed immediately. I hope you're happy. I was happy. Not because Mira was suffering, but because the pretense was finally over. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more feeling like a stranger in my own life. The divorce was finalized 2 days later. Mira didn't contest it. She couldn't afford an attorney, and the separation agreement left her with nothing to fight for. I kept the house, the savings accounts, and my truck. She kept her personal belongings and the Camry, which was leased in her name anyway. Holly called that evening, her voice tight with controlled anger. I hope this was worth it, Darren, destroying someone's life for revenge. I didn't destroy her life, Holly. She did that herself. I just stopped enabling it. She made a mistake. One mistake. She made a choice. Every day for 4 months, she chose to lie to me, to cheat on me, to treat our marriage like it was disposable. Those weren't mistakes, they were decisions. And now she's lost everything. Now she's facing the consequences of her actions. There's a difference. Holly was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. What happens now? Now I move on with my life, and hopefully Mira learns something from this experience. Do you think she will? I considered the question seriously. Mira had always been good at adapting her story to fit her needs, at finding ways to make herself the victim in any situation. But maybe losing everything would force her to look honestly at her choices. I don't know, I said finally, but that's not my problem anymore. 6 months later, I ran into Liam at a grocery store. He looked older, tired, wearing a polo shirt instead of his usual business attire. His cart contained generic brands and marked down produce. Darren, he said, clearly uncomfortable. How are you? I'm good. You? Getting by, looking for work. It's tough when you have a criminal record. I imagine it is. He shifted awkwardly, glancing around like he was worried about being seen. Look, I know you probably hate me, but I want you to know that I never meant for things to go this far. Mira and I... It just happened. Nothing just happens, Liam. You made choices. So did she. I know, and I'm sorry, for what it's worth. It's not worth much, but I appreciate the gesture. He nodded and started to walk away, then turned back. How is she, Mira? I have no idea. We don't talk. Right, of course. He left without another word, pushing his cart toward the discount meat section. I finished my shopping and drove home to my quiet house, where I cooked dinner for one and watched television without anyone complaining about my choice of shows. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was honest. It was mine. And for the first time in years, that was enough. The next morning, Paul brought coffee and the local newspaper to my office. You made the business section, he said, pointing to a small article about our firm winning a contract for the new city bridge project. Good. We can use the publicity. There's something else. Marissa called. She's getting remarried next month. Some guy she met at the hospital. She wanted to thank you for helping her get free of Liam. She did most of the work herself. Still, she says she's never been happier. I smiled, genuinely pleased for her. Marissa had taken control of her situation and built something better from the wreckage of her marriage. It was inspiring. What about you? Paul asked. Any thoughts about getting back out there? Eventually, when I'm ready, when I meet someone who actually wants to be with me, not just someone who wants what I can provide. Fair enough. But don't wait too long. You're one of the good ones, Darren. Someone's going to be lucky to find you. I looked out the window at the city skyline, at the bridges I'd helped design and build, at the solid, permanent structures that would outlast the people who created them. Maybe, I said. But first, I'm going to enjoy being useful to myself. Paul raised his coffee cup in a toast. To being useful, he said. To being useful, I agreed. And for the first time in years, I meant it.